It started with a phone call in the middle of the night. A 19-year-old college student crashes his car on a rural road in Minnesota. He calls his parents for help, calmly walking toward what he believes is safety. They stay on the phone for 47 minutes until he suddenly says, "Oh, shit." And then, nothing. No body, no evidence, no answers. This is the haunting, unsolved disappearance of Brandon Swanson, a case that has left investigators baffled for over a decade and changed state law forever. Brandon Victor Swanson was born on January 30th, 1989, in the small town of Marshall, Minnesota. He was smart, independent, and driven. Friends described him as easygoing, kind-hearted, and meticulous. He had poor vision in his left eye and wore glasses, but that never stopped him. In 2007, he graduated from Marshall Senior High and began studying wind energy at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. Brandon wasn't a reckless kid. He didn't party hard or chase drama. He was the kind of person who followed the rules, the kind of son who calls when he's going to be late, and on the night he disappeared, that's exactly what he did. May 13th, 2008. It was the last day of classes, and Brandon attended two low-key gatherings in the nearby town of Canby to celebrate the end of the semester. Witnesses say he had a drink or two but wasn't intoxicated. He was alert and coherent when he left. Around 1:15 a.m., he got into his Chevy Lumina and started the 30-mile drive back home to Marshall. But instead of taking the main highways, he opted for the quieter rural back roads. At some point along the way, Brandon's car veered off the road and became stuck in a ditch. Unable to free it, he did what any level-headed teenager would do. He called his parents. At 1:54 a.m., Brandon reached out to his dad, calmly explaining that he wasn't hurt, but the car was stuck. He said he believed he was near the town of Lind and asked them to come get him. His parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, jumped into their car and headed toward Lind, keeping Brandon on the phone as he tried to guide them. Brandon's voice was steady. He didn't sound panicked. He told his father he could see lights in the distance, likely Lind, and was walking toward them along a gravel road. He promised to meet them in the parking lot of a local bar. But when his parents got there, Brandon wasn't. Frustrated and confused, they stayed on the line. Brandon insisted he was in the right place. He described passing fences, gravel, and hearing running water nearby. Yet they still couldn't find him. The conversation lasted 47 minutes. And then, at exactly 2:30 a.m., Brandon suddenly said, "Oh, shit!" The line went silent, not cut off, not dropped, just silent. Brian and Annette called him back repeatedly. The phone rang again and again, but there was no answer. They drove around searching until dawn, and by 6:30 a.m., they reported him missing to the police. The initial response was underwhelming. Officers suggested Brandon had probably just wandered off and would turn up soon. After all, he was 19, legally an adult. Maybe he was just blowing off steam. But his parents knew better. Hours later, when police finally started tracing his cell phone signal, the first real twist emerged. Brandon wasn't near Lind at all. He was over 20 miles away, near the town of Taunton, far off from where he believed he was. His car was eventually found abandoned on the side of a gravel road outside Taunton. There was no damage, no sign of foul play, and no indication which direction Brandon had gone after leaving the vehicle. Search teams mobilized. Foot patrols, scent tracking dogs, helicopters, even drones scoured the vast farmland and riverbanks nearby. Cadaver dogs picked up a trail leading from the car to a wooded area and down toward the Yellow Medicine River. But then, nothing. No clothing, no backpack, no phone, no body. Despite combing over 120 square miles across multiple counties, authorities found no trace of Brandon Swanson. To this day, not a single piece of physical evidence has been recovered. What happened to Brandon that night? Was he injured? Did he fall into the river he mentioned? Or did something or someone intercept him in the dark? The mystery sparked outrage and eventually action. In 2009, Minnesota passed Brandon's Law, requiring police to begin an investigation immediately when a missing adult is reported, especially if the situation is suspicious or out of character. His parents never gave up. They still search. They still hope. Every year they organize awareness campaigns, hoping that someone, somewhere, remembers something. That maybe one day the silence on the other end of that phone will finally be answered. The case has inspired countless theories. That he slipped and drowned in the river, that he succumbed to hypothermia, that he was abducted, either by someone known or completely random, that he suffered a sudden medical event like a fall or a seizure. But none of those answers come with proof. Brandon's voice, his calm guidance, his eerie final words, "Oh shit," are the last breadcrumbs we have. Everything else is speculation. A 19-year-old walked into the night, into the dark rural silence of Minnesota, and vanished. If you found this story compelling, help keep Brandon's name alive. Share this video. Leave a comment. Let his voice echo a little longer. And remember, sometimes the scariest mysteries are the ones that begin with a phone call. This was the story of Brandon Swanson. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want more deep-dive true crime stories, respectfully told and never forgotten.